Immortal Works Flash Fiction Friday, Episode 21, Annie the Pharmacist, by Adam Boswell. Read for you by Natalie Ipson. Annie could hear the rush of steps getting closer to her flat. She knew they would beat the door down in a matter of seconds. Quickly she scanned the labels on the shelved bottles. Hundreds of them sat there in front of her, a mountain of gold. Each pill was once worth a fortune, but now she had to choose which one would save her life. German Nazi soldier, billionaire playboy, 18th century samurai, mind control. So many bottles, each holding an entire lifetime of power and knowledge. Vampire, troll, assassin. The labels seemed to blur together. Just pick one, Annie. Just pick. She could hear her own words ringing in her ears as though someone standing next to her was screaming. Annie reached for the bottle marked assassin just as the entire front entry of her flat exploded. Bottles and pills scattered everywhere, windows shattered behind her, and debris flew like a crazed kaleidoscope. Ringing, pain. Must take one. Get. Annie's mind was like a sloth chasing a cheetah. Somehow through the smoke, the pain, the blood, she reached out and grasped a pill. There was no way to know what it could possibly be, but the time for that was far gone. She managed to get it into her mouth and swallow as three looming figures darkened her already blurred vision. A large figure pulled Annie to her feet as she heard a silky voice at the now gaping hole of an entryway. "Is she herself? Did she take one?" the voice demanded. "I can't tell, ma'am. She seems normal." The words fell flat as the man's head rolled clean off his shoulders. A beat later, the other two dropped to the floor, lifeless. Annie could feel the power flowing through her. She had no new name, no special identity, just power. Her mind cleared as though a fierce wind had burst out of nowhere and pushed the fog out with gale force. She looked around the room, the dust and the settling debris inconsequential to her keen new senses. 3 lay dead around her. 4 large men in full body armor and automatic weapons standing at the entry surrounding a single woman. She had gotten lucky. With her mind in full control again, and a near-perfect sense of recall, she knew immediately that she had grabbed an element control pill. It granted the ingester not just control over the known elements, but a perfect control over oneself. This pill would have netted her over 3 million pounds just a few days before. Annie knew she had precious little time. The more powerful the prescription, the faster its half-life, and she could already feel its power starting to wane. She looked up to see the 4 men raising their guns, but it was as if they were moving in slow motion. She could see all the elements before her, small sparks of fire still flickering in the air from the explosion. Dust, dirt, earth, all around her. And of course air was ever present. That's what she'd used to decapitate the man who had held her. With the ubiquitous air was water. Annie had expanded that in the other 2 men's hearts, causing them to explode internally. With her mind working so quickly, Annie felt the need to be clever in taking care of the 4 armored men. Let's see, 60% of the human body is water. But I've already used that. Fire is always a winner in the movies, but a bit obvious, Annie thought to herself. "I've got it," she said out loud just as the 4 men opened fire. Bullets flew from the firearms and hit dense air, as though it was a solid gel, dropping to the ground only inches from where they'd left the muzzles. Stark confusion flooded into the men's eyes, but they did not stop firing. What else could they do? With metal now covering the floor, Annie's clever plan took effect. It took only seconds and felt like a small symphony to her enhanced mind. The metal liquefied and pooled as the elements of fire from the gunpowder igniting was collected and enhanced surrounding the now shimmering pool. The 4 men were pulled into a straight line as the air around them, like massive hands from an unseen giant, grasped them and shoved them forward. The first man approached the perfectly reflective pool, it looking like a gate to hell, and saw only his own horrified face looking back at him. Fire, metal, death shot up all around him, creating a perfect cast die. Like Han Solo in carbonite. But not frozen. At thousands of degrees inside the statue, there was nothing left but a metal mold. The other 3 men in line each watched in horror as the man in front of him was attacked by the metal mold, as though it was some alien creature taking on their form and consuming them whole. In the end, nothing was left but ash and smoke. The silky-voiced woman stood alone with an irritated look on her face. "Well, that was unfortunate, my dear, though I guess I appreciate you not making a mess of it." Annie stared for one last fleeting moment at the woman, as the world came crashing back in on her. The prescription had expired. She had exhausted her one chance. Crumpling to the floor, Annie felt a wave of sickness hit her and penetrate her to the core. Vomiting and reeling, she knew that a prescription that powerful wasn't something you could just take and shake off. The silky-voiced woman's legs filled Annie's field of vision, and her last conscious thought was, those are super cute shoes. I wonder where she got them.